In 1722, Britain's first Prime Minister had a problem. He'd just survived imprisonment in the Tower of London for corruption, clawed his way back to power, and now he needed everyone to know it. So Robert Walpole did what any self-respecting politician drowning in questionable wealth would do. He burned the receipts and built a palace so magnificent it basically screamed, "I'm definitely not corrupt." Welcome to Houghton Hall, where the only thing more dramatic than the architecture is the people who've lived there. Robert Walpole was born in 1676 into Norfolk gentry, the kind of family with enough money to matter, but not enough to stop hustling. One of 19 children, yes, 19, young Robert was destined for the clergy until his older brothers inconveniently died, leaving him heir to the family estate. University? Abandoned. God's calling. Ignored. Political power. Now we're talking. By 1708, Walpole had climbed to Secretary at War, and by 1710, Treasurer of the Navy. He was brilliant, ruthless, and, according to pretty much everyone who knew him, spectacularly corrupt. Enter 1712. The Tories, who despised Walpole and everything he represented, accused him of pocketing money from forage contracts for Scotland. Now, here's the thing. It was proven he hadn't actually kept any of the money, didn't matter. He was pronounced guilty of a high breach of trust and notorious corruption, impeached, expelled from Parliament and thrown in the Tower of London for 6 months. But Walpole was no ordinary prisoner. While locked up, he became a Whig martyr. All the opposition leaders visited him like he was holding court. His cell became his think tank, an incubator for his comeback. Then in 1714, Queen Anne died, and George I, who spoke basically no English and trusted the Whigs, took the throne. Walpole was back. By 1721, after most of his rivals had either died or been disgraced in the South Sea bubble scandal, Walpole emerged as First Lord of the Treasury, Chancellor of the Exchequer, and leader of the House of Commons, Britain's first de facto Prime Minister. His political strategy? Simple. Buy loyalty. Walpole perfected the art of patronage to an almost comical degree. Tidewaiters' jobs in Berwick, ensign promotions, scholarships at New College. Every single appointment was catalogued, docketed and leveraged for political allegiance. He earned the nickname the Screen for protecting other corrupt officials. Walpole himself said his guiding principle was simple. Every man has his price. And he made damn sure to know what that price was. In 1720, flush with power and deeply questionable wealth, Walpole decided to rebuild the old family house at Houghton. Not renovate, rebuild, on a scale that would make everyone understand exactly who was running Britain. He hired the two defining architects of the age, Colen, Campbell and James Gibbs, who hated each other's guts. Then he brought in William Kent to design the lavish interiors. The three architects despised one another, but Walpole didn't care. He wanted the best, and if they had to suffer through collaboration, so be it. Construction began in 1722. The house took 13 years to complete. Indiana limestone, Italian marble, barrel-vaulted ceilings. A stone hall that looks like a temple to political power, which, let's be honest, it absolutely was. The interiors were extravagant beyond belief. Walpole admitted the whole thing cost over £200,000, about £35 million today. Walpole filled Houghton with one of the finest art collections in Europe: Van Dyck, Rubens, Rembrandt, Poussin, Velázquez. Over 400 paintings, plus bronzes and Roman antiquities. This wasn't a home. This was a power statement wrapped in Palladian architecture. Walpole could only visit twice a year, spring and autumn, because he was too busy actually running the country. But when he came to Norfolk, he threw legendary hunting parties that lasted for weeks. His cabinet would decamp from London and hold meetings at Houghton, which became known as the Norfolk Congress. Robert Walpole died in 1745, and things immediately went to hell. His son, the second Earl of Orford, inherited not just Houghton, but massive debts. The third Earl was even worse. By 1778, he was so broke he did the unthinkable. He sold his grandfather's magnificent art collection, one of the finest in Europe, to Catherine the Great of Russia, for £40,555. Today you can see those paintings in the State Hermitage Museum in St. Petersburg. The sale was considered a national tragedy. The collection that was supposed to cement the Walpole legacy instead ended up in the hands of a Russian empress. When Horace Walpole, Robert's youngest son, died in 1797, the estate passed to the Cholmondeley family through the female line. The Cholmondeleys already had their own castle in Cheshire, so for most of the 19th century Houghton was basically abandoned. They only visited for shooting parties. While Victorian England was renovating everything in sight, Houghton sat frozen in time, slowly decaying. Houghton's saviour arrived in 1919. Lady Sybil Sassoon, who married the 5th Marquess of Cholmondeley. Sybil was a Rothschild by birth, a Sassoon by her first marriage, and fabulously wealthy. She took one look at the crumbling palace and decided to bring it back to life. She carefully restored the house, replanted the gardens, and filled the walls with new treasures. Sybil was close friends with John Singer Sargent, who painted her and her family. When her brother Sir Philip Sassoon died, she inherited even more spectacular paintings and decorative objects. By the time she was done, Houghton was once again one of England's great houses. Her grandson would inherit not a ruin, but a masterpiece. That grandson is David George Philip Cholmondeley, 7th Marquess of Cholmondeley, though he's better known by his courtesy title, Earl of Rock Savage. Or as he preferred in his filmmaking days, David Rock Savage, because apparently when you're making French art films, Cholmondeley doesn't have the same ring. Born in 1960, David is a direct descendant of Robert Walpole. He was educated at Eton, served as a page of honour to Queen Elizabeth II at age 14, and inherited the Marquessate in 1990 at age 30. When he inherited Houghton, it was magnificent but medieval. No proper plumbing, barely functional electricity. David spent years modernising the infrastructure while preserving the 18th century interiors. He opened the house to the public, restored the walled gardens in memory of his grandmother Sybil, and turned Houghton into a destination for contemporary art exhibitions. In 2009, at age 49, David announced his engagement to 25-year-old Rose Hanbury, a former model signed to the same agency that discovered Kate Moss. They married 2 days later at Chelsea Town Hall. The couple settled into life at Houghton Hall, managing the 106-room estate, hosting world-class art exhibitions and becoming neighbours with the most famous couple in Britain, Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, whose country home, Anmer Hall, is less than 3 miles away. Rose Hanbury wasn't just any neighbour, her royal connections run deep. Her maternal grandmother, Lady Elizabeth Lambert, was one of 8 bridesmaids at Queen Elizabeth II's 1947 wedding to Prince Philip. Today, Rose manages the Houghton Hall estate alongside her husband. She recently launched a furniture and wallpaper collection through Houghton Collection, working with designer John Ives to create pieces inspired by the estate's 18th century interiors. The estate is open to visitors from spring through autumn. The 5-acre walled gardens won the Christie's Garden of the Year award in 2007. The sculpture park features works by world-renowned artists like Rachel Whitered, Jeppe Hein and Stephen Cox. The Soldier Museum houses 20,000 model soldiers, one of the largest private collections on Earth. In a rare 2024 interview with the English Home, Rose admitted moving into the 106-room estate was overwhelming at first. "It took me a while to adjust and feel at home," she said. "We use the ground floor and the second and third floors where the bedrooms are. The first floor is mainly occupied by the staterooms. I don't know how many rooms we have in total." Managing Houghton, she said, means constantly keeping an eye on things and seeking expert advice. It's an endless project. There are always things to conserve, preserve and restore. Through the Cholmondeleys, through Lady Sybil's restoration, through David's modernisation, and now through Rose's contemporary vision, Houghton endures. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Georgian England's most politically charged palace, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about the buildings that changed history and the complicated, fascinating people who lived in them. We've got some wild ones coming up, trust me, you won't want to miss them. Thanks for watching.